Well, let's begin on a lighter mood by telling you that our own Babajide Kolade Otitoju has added another feather to his cap. Members of the National Association of Polytechnic Students decorated him with an award of National Outstanding Leadership, describing him as an icon of humanity and societal development. And BKO used the opportunity to assure the students of TVC News' commitment to the welfare of students, improved education in the country. Let's share the event with you.
We are proud of you because you serve as a source of inspiration to Nigerian youth and students. On behalf of National Association of Polytechnic Students, we present National Outstanding Leadership Award presented to Mr. Kolade Otitoju, security and political journalist, as icon of humanity and societal development, in recognition of your charismatic leadership acumen, fervent and continuous productive contributions towards youth empowerment and support projects, and above all support for the less privileged in our society, all aimed at nation building. Congratulations. We love your mission. We love your mission. We love your mission.
Continue to promote the interest and welfare of Nigerian students. We will continue to do our best to get the government of the day to realize how valuable it is to invest tremendously in education in our country. Not just in the area of infrastructure, but in the area of research. Nigeria's educational institutions have been abandoned for too long, and they are not well funded. That is why we have crises of all sorts that ensure that students actually last longer in school than they should last.
Another feather to the cap of our very own BKO. So, Babajide, how do you feel about this honor given to you by Nigerian students?
I am really happy because it shows that more and more people appreciate what we are doing. If the National Association of Polytechnic Students could give me such an honor, it means that the support for what we are doing and the appreciation of our work is across board. So I know that before the end of the year there will be a lot more. So
well, in a way, look at all the numerous.
Forward to it.
When you have the numerous awards on your plate, doesn't it more like, you know, it spurs you to do more in terms of the outstanding contributions you do to the society?
The thing is, when you work for the people will show their appreciation in any way that they deem fit. Some guys traveled all the way from Benin earlier this year to give me a small award. And before we turned back to say, okay, let's even show them around TVC, they had gone. Which means they were not even interested in publicity, they were not interested in wasting time. They just left immediately. Because as far as they were concerned, they had achieved their aim to make me realize that they were happy with what I was doing and that they do not want me to change. So I commit to them that I will not change. I'll continue to work hard. I'll continue to be on the side of our people. That's what matters. That's what matters most to me.
Indeed. So now let's focus what we have today. One thing is to give an order. Another is to ensure its execution. Now, following his order banning officers of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, from routine patrols as part of efforts to reform the unit, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, is walking the talk. Adamu cemented the directive by giving orders to the Assistant Inspectors General of Police, AIGs, and Commissioners of Police of the 36 states and FCT to arrest, detain, and dismiss SARS or police officers who violate the rights of citizens. And he has also deployed the Commissioners of Police in charge of X Squad, the Force Provost, Marshal, and IGP monitoring team to enforce the order. Are we in for a real change? Well, let's ask a question indeed, if I'll ask that to you. Babajide, because this is something that many have been talking about. Why are we having a police system that isn't out to protect the ordinary Nigerian citizen? What do you think is responsible for the perceived rot in the police system today?
A lot of it is has to do with corruption. The policeman is very much concerned about, many of them are very much concerned about the money they can make, illicit money that they can make, rather than providing service. And it's such a shameful thing. Policemen want to serve on EFCC team. They want to be on what's it called, mobile police. They want to work with the tactical units of the police. It's all because they see avenues for money making in it. You arrest innocent people on the streets, you take them to your police station, and then tell them to call their relations to come and pay you huge sums of money. You arrest alleged Yahoo boys, and in some cases you take as much as 500,000 from them, or even ₦1 million from them. So many of them see this as an opportunity to simply make money, and because it offers them a big opportunity to make money, it's been difficult to rein them in. I agree with those who have said that, look, the IG gave a similar directive about 2 years ago. How come these guys have not complied? They told them, don't check people's phones. They told them, don't do routine patrol. It's not your business. Don't set up checkpoints just everywhere and be searching people's cars, dehumanizing people. But they are not going to listen unless something gives. Something must give. And I'm happy that right now the National Assembly has got involved. It's not going to be like what happened in the past, because usual. I can see now that the House of Reps is planning a public hearing, and they've told the committee, the Joint Committee of Police Affairs and Justice and Human Rights, to submit their report within 6 weeks. They're already thinking of an amendment even to the law, to our laws, that will ensure that policemen are accountable for criminal activities and even irresponsible civil actions that they carry out. So I believe that one way to deal with this situation is to use the law. Because if we simply tell the IG, go and straighten up your people, go and get your people to behave well, discipline people, it will not change anything. There is a huge deficit of supervision in the force. That's clearly what we see. There's so much indiscipline. And it is the undisciplined and rogue policemen who are giving policemen who are responsible, who truly want to serve, who are honest, they are the ones who are giving them a bad name. It's not everyone in the police that is bad. I've talked in the past about policemen that you can't offer bribe to, that I expect them to take it from you. There are some policemen like that. Don't even talk to them about bribing them. There are policemen still in this police who are so disciplined that they will never take a bribe from anybody. They would rather prefer God to call them than to take bribe. But the efforts of such people are being rubbished by the activities of rogue policemen, and always dressed in mufti, some of them even in flip-flop, or what Nigerians call bedroom slippers, just moving around and just demonstrating to us all of what a proper and thoroughly disciplined policeman should not be.
And that is actually the issue on the ground right now. So, Olabisi, let's quickly get your thoughts on this. Aside from this campaign where people on social media all over the country are asking the government to ban SARS, calling for end SARS, what else do you think can be done to address this challenge in the police system in Nigeria today?
I think police should be made to be more accountable to the people. part of the problem is that these people are left alone, and in the past, whatever thing they did, they went away with them. And because of that, they continue to do they continue to molest the people. And I also think that government needs to be more involved this time around. There are, like uh, uh, my friend said, Otitoju, he said that people have been calling for, punishment for these people in the past 2 years. It's not even about 2 years ago. This is actually the first time that the police chief will be coming out with different instructions, directive to end SARS. Fourth time in 4 years, which means that whatever directive was given in the past was never followed through. And that is a problem. We need to be able to follow through whatever directive, whatever policy we bring on board. Now, talking about policies, I think 2 years ago, the federal government set up a commission to investigate, unruly activities of SARS. And a report was submitted in April 2019. Between April 2019 and now, we've not heard anything about that report. We don't know what the recommendations are, and nobody has implemented whatever recommendations were for erring policemen. When you have a situation like this, where recommendations, where government set up panels that are not followed through, it makes it look as if it's just about empty words. And when you have empty words, you are not likely to have any action at the end of the day. So I think we should go beyond actions, we should go beyond instructions, we should go beyond police chief passing out whatever instruction to actually doing the right thing, to actually implementing and ensuring that every police officers are disciplined whenever they commit any form of criminal activity.
All right, point taken there, Olabisi. Yeah, point taken there, Olabisi. But Otitoju, but Bajide, I'm so apologies. Now, when we're talking about policies, to ensure that the police live up to its responsibility of protecting the ordinary Nigerian, these directives come from the center,
yes, from
the Inspector General of Police, and it's expected to go down to all states in the federation. So how do we ensure effective monitoring of these police? We're talking about state police creation, and that is not in effect. So how will this monitoring be done? Where you have the center and you have the states, wouldn't that be disjointed? So what would you proffer as the best solution to ensure monitoring of these directives from the center down to states?
There are structures already within the police, to monitor activities of policemen and ensure that they are disciplined. There are structures. The IG has already listed 3 of those organs within the police that are meant to ensure that policemen who are guilty of aberrant behavior pay for it. There is the X Squad, the IG's monitoring team. These are 2 of the organs that are saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that policemen do not get away with aberrant behavior. The X Squad, the IG's monitoring team, is now saying that those 3 organs must go out and arrest SARS men guilty of molesting civilians and guilty of other infractions. So it's not as if the structures had not been there. They've always been there. But corruption also gets in the way of the effective performance. For example, if you are so powerful as a group, this is the S Squad or the IG's monitoring team, and you arrest your colleagues, people will start calling from above. Please, from Abuja, people will call. That boy is my boy. Please forgive him. Just for my own sake, don't punish him. And then at the end of the day, even money will exchange hands, and the punishment that should happen may not happen. So the system is so loose that people get away with blue murder. But what I want to see, because if we go back to what happened, policemen, you saw even the Boko Haram mess that we are in now, they caused it. Because if those policemen had not executed Mohammed Yusuf, his group would not have resorted to the armed struggle that they resorted to. They had always been there. When people say, oh, Boko Haram had been there since 2002, but they were not going after people, attacking policemen and killing soldiers the way they are doing now. It was because they murdered the guy. General Hahanotu led a Nigerian army team that arrested Mohammed Yusuf and handed him over to the police, but they ended up executing him. Look at what happened also with Akpo 6. It's 15 years now that those innocent boys and a girl were murdered while returning from a party in Abuja. What has happened to those policemen who were involved in the killing of people? Were they killed in return? Does our law not stipulate that if you take a man's life, that your own life too will be taken? How did those irresponsible policemen who killed the Akpo, how did they end up? Go and investigate. They always somehow get away. So this is the thing. I want to see the law. If the House of Reps will come up with a new law to deal decisively with this matter, I'll be very excited.
Well, let's hope and for the best.
Because that will be a kind of permanent solution to
the crisis, yes, or the situation we have on ground. Thank you very much for your position on this matter. But still ahead on the show, let's share another video regarding this issue of SARS causing chaos in the society.
Nobody dey move. Make dem drop the paper. Don't carry my phone. Who's your phone? We dey take your paper motor. You dey take my phone. You dey take my phone. Don't slap me just now. This is happening in Edo State, Benin City. Police and young men in the streets fighting over their car papers. Policeman over, not thief, baby thief. This is happening in Edo State, Benin City.
What a situation we have before our hands. But you know, Babajide, when you looked at this video, definitely so many things would have come to mind. But some have been saying that perhaps a police reform is the best way to go. You know, because when they say you can't take a man out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the man. So, but in this case now, do you think reforming the police will give us a new lease of life in terms of having a protective system that is out there to do its job solely to protect the citizens instead of intimidate or harass them?
That's why part of the reform I believe is what the House of Reps are trying to do now. They are taking a second look at Section 215, which, in their view, takes away the power of the courts to deal with some infractions committed by the police, you know. So I believe that the reform has to be very substantial for us to achieve the result that we want. We are not saying end SARS. I'm not for end SARS. No, SARS must be there. But the irresponsible behavior of SARS personnel is what we must do something about. And it's not just SARS personnel. A lot of policemen are moving around calling themselves SARS. They are not SARS people. They are not SARS people. So is the police, let's focus on reforming the police and doing it very well. If it needs changing some portions of our law, so be it.
Absolutely. So, Olabisi, getting your thoughts on this perception, do you think reforming the police will be the best way to go?
Beyond reforming the police, even with what we have on ground, we can still work with what we have. But I think we need more of accountability, making them to be accountable for their actions. You see, whatever reform you do, you still have to make sure that you effect it. If you don't effect anything, you will end up having the same problem. For instance, now, the IG said that you could arrest SARS, every SARS officer. But how do you get that done? Do you use the same policemen to arrest them? I think that even now we need to work out how that can be done. Do we empower?
All right, point taken there, Olabisi. I know you have a lot to say, but still to come on the program, INEC chairman pleads with political parties, Ondo governorship candidates to support peaceful election as Sultan of Sokoto, Bishop Kuka, speak on the need for peace. Stay with us for more after this. Another off-season election is in the offing in Ondo State. And the hope of every Nigerian is a peaceful and seamless exercise, as witnessed in Edo Governorship Hall. At the Peace Accord signing ceremony in Akure on Tuesday, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, who raised the alarm over tension leading to Saturday's poll in the state, pleaded with political parties and governorship candidates to support a peaceful election. And the Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar, and the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Matthew Hassan Kuka, also harped on the need for peace during the election. A word should be enough for the wise. So, Babajide, when you talk about these elections now holding in Ondo State, this Saturday, many are saying, well, let's hope for the better, because according to the INEC boss, the Ondo election is going to be better than Edo. Are you optimistic? Do you share in that optimism?
Well, until we see it, I can't at this stage be optimistic that it will be better. I liked a lot of things about Edo election, but I didn't like the vote buying that took place. So much of vote buying. I want to see a situation in which our people will freely choose their leaders and won't be motivated to choose anybody because they've been offered so much money. It suggests that politicians have thoroughly conquered their people and they don't want to be accountable. So they've resorted to the irresponsible attitude of offering people money to vote for them. Let it come from the heart of the people that they want you. Why are you offering money to people? Is that how it's done in other countries? Why is it that when it comes to anything good in our country, our own case is always inverted? Why are we offering people money to vote? And so Americans, they offer people money to vote. Say Trump will just distribute money on election day to people. As desperate as it is to return as president, is he going to get on the streets of America and be giving people money to vote? I mean, it makes no sense. So it's not everything about the election that was okay. Yes, even on election day, there was still violence. So we want zero violence. Let them not give us the impression that Edo election, that's the best that we can get. No, there were some things that were wrong about Edo election. There was still violence. But when you compare it to previous elections, there is improvement. But when it comes to vote buying, which is outlawed by the Electoral Act, a lot of vote buying took place in Edo, and I don't want to see it in Ondo State. But I know I'm deceiving myself because they will still buy people's votes. They will buy people's conscience. That's the way of the Nigerian politicians. They found no other way by which they can convince people. You see elections, people don't talk about manifesto anymore. They are waiting. They are keeping the money to go and spend on people on election. And the people are so impoverished. So we have weaponized poverty by simply waiting on election day and say, okay, vote for us and find money to cook soup. That's what we are doing.
Which should not be so, actually.
But the violence we have, there had been pockets of violence in Ondo State in this election. Even 3 days ago, there was a shooting incident in Akure, the state capital. And there is tension, the atmosphere is charged. Because the three top candidates are very strong. It has made the election a little bit unpredictable. So naturally they are desperate, all three of them, and they have thugs, they have supporters. So now we don't want violence. That is the message from the INEC chairman. And then people like Reverend Father Martin Hassan Kuka and the Sultan, who came all the way from his throne, came down just to preach for peace. I think it makes sense for people to listen to this respected monarch.
So, Olabisi, with that being said, from the part of BAKO, that, all hands need to be on deck to ensure we have a peaceful election in Ondo State, what else do you think can be done to ensure the exercise conducted is transparent, free, and, of course, fair?
I think with the problem with our politics is the fact that the level of financial investment in elections is always very high. And because of that, there are lots of stake. People are so desperate to ensure that, their money does not get wasted. And in this particular case, I'm sure that a lot of money has gone into it. And that is probably why a lot of people are going to be very desperate. Interestingly, I think the people contesting now, most of them also contested in the last election in the States. They have been there. They are experienced, and they have been there all the while. I think what we need to do now, beyond the peace move, is for the law enforcement agency that at least for the election day, the level of money that exchange hand reduces. We know that they've spent a lot of money, and we know that they are probably eager to even spend more on election day. And, the more money they spend, the more desperate they become. Let's ensure that there is no case of vote buying. Let's also ensure that there is no rigging. Let's ensure that, people go there, they are free. There is no form of intimidation or harassment. But the electorates are free to cast their votes under a peaceful atmosphere. Let the law enforcement agencies ensure that both the governor and other contestants follow the rule of law. If we do that, we can maintain the atmosphere of peace in Ondo State.
That being said, now from Olabisi, BKO, with vote buying and rigging being the bone of contention in Nigerian elections, what mechanisms can be put in place to, avert this practice that has been, like a norm in our electoral system?
Vote rigging, we
Vote
can
buying
stop
and
vote rigging.
rigging, yeah.
Vote rigging can be stopped if we adopt electronic voting. It depends on the technology that we choose to use. I've talked about the Indian technology before. India is the world's largest democracy, and if they do an election today, as big as the country is, roughly about 1 billion people, if they do an election today, by tomorrow they will know the winner. We do elections in our country they will still be calculating manually. They will say they are bringing, oh, if a local government is really distant, it's far from the state capital, they will say they are waiting for them to come by road, and then they will be doing collation, they will be waiting. This local government they will announce their own. Will wait. They can even go on break for 3-4 hours. They say one local government, they are yet to bring their own. These are all manifestations of backwardness. All of the elections that we do, we are a wasteful country. We can do all our elections in one day. Technology can help us to achieve that.
Now, what kind of technology would that be?
That's what I'm saying. I talked about the Indian model. It is electronic voting module that they use, and it is 100% Indian technology.
Right.
Why can't our people in government who go abroad, but usually they don't go abroad for the right reasons, why can't they go, for example, to India and say, okay, we want to go and observe how they do elections in that. How come? And you won't hear people shouting about it again. They do it. If it's if you win, you win. If your strategy is good, you win. The other day, Congress party was not dislodged the ruling party. Vajpayee. What did Sonia Gandhi do? Sonia Gandhi went to campaign in the rural areas. Those are the people who have missed the prosperity that advancement in IT brought to India. The people in the rural areas, they've not benefited anything from that. So she went to campaign, and there is so much population in those areas, and the Congress party was able to defeat the incumbent government. People across the world were saying, how come a government that has done so well, the architect of India's preeminence as an industrialized nation, can just be defeated easily? But the strategy was right, and they are not going to rig election because they are incumbent. No, they don't do that. It's in Africa that incumbents rig elections. The technology is there. Let them go and check. Let them say, okay, Jide suggested that there is this technology that the Indians use. Let them try it. Let us too try to make progress as a nation. The moment we get it right, the moment Nigerians are able to choose the leaders of their choice, even the quality of leadership will improve. Because you know that if you don't work for the people, you'll be disgraced out of office. You'll be shown the door. What?
And that's a fine place to leave this discussion this evening. So let's quickly take a short break and be back with Journalist Hangout. Well, today's episode of Journalist Hangout Midweek Special is on the predicament of residents living along expressways without pedestrian bridges. While pedestrian bridges and crossings are on many parts of Lagos, some areas like Magaja is not that lucky. Residents of the area are battling challenges posed by this situation. A fallout of this is incessant hit-and-run accidents leading to death of people knocked down by vehicles while trying to cross the expressway. Abiola Sholanke tells us more in this special report.
Safety. These pedestrian bridges are placed so that they can move from one side of the road to the other. But where it is not available, it is advisable that you don't even have any reason to make use of that road. That's crossing on leg. It's either you use a vehicle or you trek to the point where you have the pedestrian bridge to cross to the other side of the road. What we are preaching is minimum.
There was no bridge to cross, overhead bridge to use, so I decided to use the major road, but it was so fearful. We are soliciting for the government if they can put one or two bridge that people will be using to cross over. Assuming if we have a pregnant woman or any emergency that someone will cross from this side to the other side, you will be more, because no any vehicle would like to just match a break in this express. It's an express road and it's very dangerous to we living around this vicinity.
Actually, it's not easy for people coming through these estates. So we really need a pedestrian bridge here because it's far. Trekking from here to Charlie Boy is not really easy because some of us, our house is nearby and being this place major road. So we really need the pedestrian bridge.
Lóṣù ọwá kéré mọ́tò pa èmi jí nbí bí ká mọ̀ bọ̀ aṣọ ṣútù nbí torí hospital wà nbí báyìí bí ká mọ̀ bọ̀ àjẹrán ṣútù so wọ́n tó bá fẹ́ cross by mọ́tò sì máa gbá wọn nìyẹn.
A pedestrian bridge to save lives, and life is so paramount, and that should be even the primary duty of any government to save life.
Sarah Adeyemi, a drink seller along one of the expressways in Lagos for more than 20 years, tells another sorry tale.
The accident that is happening here is too much. In fact, in a week, like 2-3 accidents happen. About 1 month ago, a vehicle hit a guy here. Even the guy used about two days before they come to pick him. So it's very, very terrible. The guy died instantly.
Construction of pedestrian bridges has been known to curb the frequency with which vehicles knock people down at some flashpoints. Ideally, flyovers are not allowed to be constructed on highways. The director of Bridges and Design in Lagos told us why this exception has since become the norm.
The issue is that the issue of highways and expressways have been abused in this country. You know, expressways and highways, people are not supposed to have direct access to them. Do you get it now? They are built as expressways and highways. But here now we have a lot of, rules that govern the highways and the expressways being abused. You have a lot of structures being built along, these highways, and people have direct access. That's why the question of having to cross. But we have taken into consideration our own personal way of doing things.
Despite the challenges, pro-pedestrian policies and construction programs need to be approved and implemented to end this problem, and the legislation to ensure safety of pedestrians on the roads also needs to happen.
Perhaps the fastest way to slow down the many risk road users face is for government to provide more pedestrian bridges when necessary and ensure that users are safe on them. Abiola Sholanke, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, that's our midweek special report. So, BKO, how do you feel, or rather, what are your thoughts on this occasional hit-and-run accidents in Bagada?
Yes, I urge the Lagos State government to put a pedestrian bridge on that road. I know some of the difficulties they face, securing the right of way and all that, especially when it's a federal government road. But they have to work with the federal government to ensure that a pedestrian bridge is put in that area. And I also want to appeal to the government that along Ikorodu Road and other places where our people have irresponsibly damaged barricades that government created to ensure that their lives are saved so that they don't dash across the expressway, government should bring those barricades back so that people are now made to use the pedestrian bridges that it has cost government so much money to put build in place. Let's continue to save them from themselves. Government must do that urgently. And some of the medians that have also been damaged by impatient drivers, government needs to reconstruct them. Then hopefully we can go and check some of those barricades and do another story on them. People shouldn't be destroying barricades erected to save their lives.
Right. So, Labisi, final thoughts on this midweek special we had today. What's your advice to the government to this concern raised by the residents in Bagada?
I think government should do a pedestrian bridge there. And beyond that, in other places where the bridges are in Lagos, I also think that government should enforce the use of those pedestrian bridges. Because the essence of the bridges is for them to be used. And when you see people abandoning them and facing the road and killing themselves, government has already put the bridges in place. People also have a responsibility to ensure that they make use of them. And I also think that in the past, government usually place law enforcement officers at some point. I think that should also be encouraged, so that whoever fails to use the pedestrian where they are, they should be arrested.
And that's a fine place to live in. Thank you very much, Olabisi Deji Folutile, for your insights on Journalist Hangout. I'd also like to thank our guest in the studio, as usual, BKO, Babajide Kolade Otitoju. It's a pleasure always to have your thoughts on Journalist Hangout. And that's all on Journalist Hangout. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of the program. Watch a repeat broadcast tonight at 11. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I am Esther Mapariola. Bye for now and God bless Nigeria.